just those two. Put it on your table. Your name tags, or you can move. You can keep them as a souvenir if you like. I always think I'm going to use them again, and then, it doesn't work. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, great. So welcome, everybody. I'm Casey. And I'm Kit. And together we are Flower Duet. Yay! Great, thank you. Great, I'm glad we rehearsed that. Right on. So we're going to the Caribbean today. This has been a great year for travel with our classes. Those of you who have joined us for a few of the classes, we've been to Ireland and Thailand. That was exotic. Paris. That was really fun. I was exhausted after that day. But we've been having a lot of fun going around the world. And we're in the Caribbean now. And this is actually where things sort of started for me in the real designing way. So I worked on cruise ships for 12 years. And when I was on one of the ships, the flower arrangements came undone in the containers by the local florist. And my job was to keep them alive for the voyage, take it all apart at the end of the voyage, and give the pots to that florist. And then it would continue. So I would take them apart. Oh, that's how that's made. Oh, cool, that's cool. What's that stuff? What's that green stuff? What's that chicken wire? Then I got transferred to another ship in the fleet in the Caribbean. And I joined the ship, and all these flowers came on in boxes. What to do? Well, I know how to do it backwards. So I started putting things together, and it was terrible. I had one giant arrangement fall apart on the grand piano, and it was not pleasant. So yes, I called my parents on a payphone because there were no cell phones, and there was no Google, YouTube, or anything. So I said, help me. They said, okay. So they sent me a book in the mail to the Caribbean. It arrived 2 weeks later. And meanwhile, I kept popping into hotel lobbies and reaching inside their arrangements to see what they did and saw how they were made. Anyway, with that experience, working backwards, and my favorite book, The 5-Minute Flower Arranger, I was able to put all my skills together and actually start designing things that looked pretty good and stayed together. So that's where it all started. And I actually did that job. It was only a side job to my regular position, but 2 years I held that position. And it got to the point where we didn't use local florists anywhere else in the world. I ended up doing it everywhere. So I would buy flowers in Monte Carlo, in Stockholm, in Copenhagen, in Holland, in Thailand, and Singapore. And it was extraordinary to buy flowers globally, locally, and build these beautiful flower arrangements. But my favorite was the Caribbean. And so we're going to do that today. All right. So any questions so far? All right. Kit, do you want to say something?
No, I'm just going to give it to Casey because this is her, like she said, this is her favorite. We're so glad that you're here today. So thank you so much for coming.
All right.
I'll be around to help.
Yes. Okay. So let me introduce you to everybody that we've got joining us today. We have these giant Monstera leaves, which is what we're going to start with. They're big and bold and beautiful. It's the name of a soap opera, isn't it? Anybody do soap operas anymore? Hi, Anya. So really, really pretty. These guys, don't pull them out yet. I'm just going to introduce you to everybody, and then we'll pull it out step by step. I know you're excited. But these are the Monstera leaves, and we'll talk more about detail when we put them in. But I want to pull those out so you can see them. We're going to be using Anthurium. Anthurium, beautiful. And I wonder why sometimes these aren't used more often in Valentine's Day. Look at that shape. It's a perfect heart. So these come in lots of different colors and available pretty much year-round. Most of our tropicals, greenery, and the Anthurium came from Costa Rica. Been there too. We're using beautiful Dendrobium orchids, which really hail more from Thailand. And they're still bundled together. And they come in these great little vials that actually have orchid food in them. So they're in your bucket, but they're actually in their individual little containers there. So we like to leave them in there as long as possible, unless, of course, it's drained out. Then you want to pull them out and give them a trim. For those of you who don't know, haven't taken classes before, stems close in 10 seconds. So if a flower is out of water for more than 10 seconds, it seals up and holds onto that water, and then you have to release it again for it to get a good drink. 10 seconds. So you wonder why your flowers don't last? Pincushion protea, not a tropical, but it sure looks like it should be. These are actually a desert flower native to Australia and South Africa, but they just do so beautifully with a tropical punch, and there's a great texture, so we're going to use those today. These are also grown down in San Diego.
What did you say they're called?
Pincushion, it depends on where you're from, Protea, P-R-O-T-E-A. If you're from Australia, you say Protea. So it just depends. Everybody has a different pronunciation for a lot of different things, but that one seems to get more garden people riled up. If you say Protea, they'll say Protea, Protea, Protea. Anyway, Phoenix palms. These are so lovely and prolific. And they're super, super long, but we're going to show you how to shortcut these a little bit down so that we can utilize them without overwhelming our arrangement. And palm fronds do really pretty well after out of water for a short bit, but they'll start to crinkle up a little bit, kind of like that plant that I haven't watered lately. So as you can see what happens. Then I have a mix of just a few other little greeneries in there that I just pulled from our tropical mix that we got, and so we might not need it. It might just be fun to bring home and just put in a vase, because just sometimes greenery is just all you need. It looks really pretty. And lastly, our famous rescue ruscus, we call it. It's Israeli ruscus. It hails from Israel. However, it also grows in San Diego. And it's super hardy. It's got this beautiful, rich green that matches all the tropical greenery that we've got. And if you didn't see it on your way in, on your way out, we have a humongous arch that we built 2 weeks ago. It's shoved into chicken wire, and we used about 400 stems of this as our base. We did not use floral foam, and then we used that on an arch the other day, and then we stuffed in like vials of hydrangea. Really, really sweet stuff. But this stuff, you'll see it, it still looks good. Okay? So those are our players today, and I'm just going to put my bucket down below and put those there. So don't anybody start yet. I'm going to start and then walk around and show you my placement for those of you who are in the back there, and then you guys will be hands-on and you'll just pull out your Monstera ones. All right, let's talk a little bit about our container. Wooden containers are great, however, they leak. So you have to make sure if you buy a wooden container, you have a liner in there. So you want to make sure a liner is in there, because that'll make it watertight. We believe in inexpensive and watertight containers are the best, because we'd rather spend more money on our flowers. Okay? We are going to use floral foam today. Floral foam has been made from the earth, like everything that comes from the earth is everything, right? It doesn't go back into the earth as well as it came out, so just use it once and then just put it in a baggie and trash it. They have tried to make it more sustainable, so it will break down, which is great, but it's not great. When you're using it, make sure you soak it completely through before you cut it to a shape that you might need, or and if you don't need the whole thing, just take what you need and put the rest in the refrigerator, and it'll keep for like 3 months. We're going to use the whole brick today. Wonderful thing about tropicals is that they last a long time, but they also have really thick stems. So you kind of need a strong holder to hold all the stems together. And then also a container that's going to hold your foam that will hold the stems, because you don't want it to fall apart like on the piano. That was all tropicals on the piano. I didn't have enough foam. I probably flipped it over and used it again, which you should never do. 1 brick of foam is what you have there. 1 brick takes about 10 cups of water. That's a lot of water. So actually like 1 whole entire shoebox. So if you were to soak it yourself, the best thing to do is just fill up a bucket, drop your foam in there, and just let it sink. It starts out light green, it turns dark green. Once it's dark green, it's ready to go. That inside part of your foam has to be hydrated, because that's where your stems are going to be sticking, and it becomes your water source for your stems. Right? So what we're going to do is you're going to take your foam, and if this were an open container, if I were building just like this, I would want the letters up, because that is how the water wicks away. But since we have it in an enclosed container and we want to access the sides of the floral foam, we're going to put it on its side. So you can flip the writing towards you, and then you're going to pop it in to the center of your container. So you have access to all sides. So put it on its side and pop it straight into your container. Perfectly done. Great. Then if you feel like your hands are gritty, I gave you a nice little paper towel to wipe your fingers off. All right. And then, yeah, just put your tray to the side. You can use that for collecting stems if you want. I did not give everybody a little trash can, so you can just put your stems there. All right. Great. That's the first step. If you know you're going to make 20 of these for an event someday, this is the kind of thing you can do ahead of time when your flowers are just, hanging out and drinking and conditioning, which we'll talk about in a minute. This is sort of the pre-prep stuff you can do. Soak your foam, get it into your containers and have everything ready. We don't really add any water right now because we're going to be putting stems in there, and that's going to be displacing water already. So you don't want a real sloshy mess driving home. So when you do get home, you could definitely add water to it then, okay? And you've got lots of room on the side to be able to feel that water, but you can fill that thing up because they're going to drink a lot. Okay, ready? Okay, so I've got a whole bunch here, and when you're buying your Monstera, you want to buy them when they're fresh. I kept this one just so you could see. Still looks pretty, but it's definitely fading out. So you want to buy your Monstera when it's still really green and fresh.
But
You can spray paint it. There is special spray paint that's actually just for flowers, and it actually seals in some of their moisture. And so we've taken things like this and spray painted them gold, and it's really, really pretty, and I've done it turquoise one time. That was really pretty too. But yeah, so I'm just going to grab, I think I only used 4. I gave you guys 5, but I think I only need 4. Monstera leaves have evolved in their own way in the years. They get very heavy when it rains. So they've actually created holes on themselves just for the rain to drain through so they don't get overly heavy, which I think is fascinating. And I don't usually see it on this small of a leaf, but usually when they're getting a little bit on the bigger side. Okay. So stems close in 10 seconds, right? So I'm going to place 4 of my Monstera leaves in here, and I am going to walk around and show you where I'm placing everything. We are not going on top of the foam. We are going to go in the sides of the foam. Also, I don't want to stick this entire length of stem into the foam because then I'm going to run into it when I get the other guys in there. You want to have it go in deep enough so it's holding so it doesn't all just fall out, okay? And a pointy end goes in easier than a blunt end. So you can just do a nice angle cut. Also, if you were just designing in a vase, an angle cut is better because it exposes more of the stem and it doesn't sit flat at the bottom of the vase, okay? For the airplane to go over. See if we're outside, it'd be really loud. Yeah, this is the paint that we use. It's called Design Master. Really fun stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go 1 on each end. And then I'm going to go 2 off the sides is how my design is going to go. So if you're a symmetrical person, then you can totally do very symmetrical if you want. But let's go a little artsy. So I'm going to go a little asymmetrical and just have it fan out. And I want it to go over the sides. The leaves are going to go over the sides of my container. Okay, because I need to access that top. I don't want to hide the whole top part. Okay, so about 2 inches, and going in, holding my foam in place, sliding in. I'm going to walk around real quick, show everybody. On the side, okay? And shifting around there a little bit.
On the side.
Side of the side. Side of the end.
Wait till she does all 4.
Yeah, wait till you do all 4. I know everyone's excited. I'm going to start playing with flowers.
In person,
Inside, in person. All right. Make sense? Okay. So I won't do that for every single stem, but just at least you guys could see that. So then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but maybe this one's already turning a little bit, a little bit of a shift there. So I'm going to go with that, and it's like, well, I'll just stick him here on the end, a little bit over on the side, and have him turn that way. So already not too symmetrical. I know it's sliding around in there, but that's okay. We want access. And then the other two, same, coming out of the sides. It's already a humongous arrangement. And that one covered a lot. So I still have access, but boom, 4 leaves. And already ready. All right, if I pass